You talking to me?
Here, looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Why so serious?
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hello and welcome to The Movie Show, the show where we talk all about cinema and what's going on in the news. I'm David Roberts and I'm joined by my friend and colleague Greg Fisher. Greg, how are you doing?
All right, thanks Dave. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you very much.
Excellent.
Excited to get into it this week?
Absolutely. Raring to go.
Let's get rolling. We kick things off with What Have You Been Watching, where we talk, discuss and analyse some of the films we've been tucking into this week. So, Greg, what have you been watching?
I watched a really interesting film, actually. It's from the 1920s. I think it was 1922. It's a Swedish film called Häxan, which translates to The Witch, which is not to be confused with the modern Robert Eggers film, The Witch. That wasn't a remake of this. This is like a pseudo-documentary. I think the guy's name is Benjamin Christensen, a Swedish filmmaker of the time. Obviously, it's very early stuff. And it's like a pseudo-documentary talking about witchcraft and mysticism and, you know, the human relationship with darkness and with all these different superstitions. And anyway, it's really, really interesting. Some of the set design and the costumes are incredible, really, because you've got demons and witches and all these different things being shown in the film. And considering it was 1922, it's quite incredible. Some of the visuals that you see on screen caught my attention on Twitter, actually. Somebody posted a short clip of it, and I thought, what's that? Because I thought it was quite modern. I looked into it and found out, it was like made in the 20s, and the whole film's actually on YouTube. We could put a link to it at the bottom here so people can access it, because there's a really good copy of it on YouTube. Yeah, I think it was remastered by the Swedish Film Board and given a really nice print and copy, so that's there for people to see. Anybody with an interest in horror or witchcraft or that kind of, that horror genre would be interested to see this film. What about you, mate? What have you been watching?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see that film, actually. Now I know it's on YouTube. I think it's definitely one to tuck into. I actually caught up with a film called Game Night that came out a couple of years ago, which I hadn't got around to seeing, but a few people had recommended it and said, it's a really great film. A bit sceptical of that because it just seemed like a standard kind of comedy film to me. But really surprised by it. Really, really great film, actually, considering, it's just it's a comedy film for general audiences kind of thing. It's kind of a loaded dark comedy. It's got a good cast in there, Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams, and a great turn from Michael C. Hall, which people will know from Dexter, of course. He plays the Bulgarian. Actually, I think the best character in the film, though, is this guy, Gary. He's played by Jesse Plemons. He just plays this really strange police officer who's like the neighbour who wants to be involved in game night, but they kind of shun him, and you kind of feel sorry for him throughout, but he plays it brilliantly. But yeah, it's a great film, better than the average comedy. The kind of premise is that it's this couple, Max and Annie, who are fanatical about games and really ultra competitive. Max's brother comes back into town, who there's a sibling rivalry going on, and he decides he wants to host game night, but decides to go the extra mile and hire an external company to kind of run this role play where he gets kidnapped and they've got to work out the clues to find him. It actually reminded me of The Game, which we talked about in our previous podcast the other week,
sure.
Which you can find on our website. But obviously this is a lot more light-hearted than that, but it's a similar concept.
Cool.
But what surprised me about it was how well shot it was.
Yeah.
They've done some really interesting choices in the cinematography. Barry Peterson was the cinematographer on it, and they've done a lot of tilt shift photography, which people might know as the toy effect, where you obviously create this depth of field, and what's in the middle is really sharp, what's on the up and lower fields is really blurred out, to create this kind of, as if you're looking at a game board like Monopoly or something, so the houses look like little pieces or something. And there was a really visually striking scene where these villains were trying to break into this room and they were hitting the lock, like the internal lock on the door. And as the lock was turning, the camera rotated
Cool.
round it. So just some really interesting, visually to watch, which really surprised me considering, it's just another comedy, as people would say. So,
Sure.
Yeah, interesting film for people to go and have a look at, especially if you're interested in kind of visuals and cinematography. It's one to have a little look at, I think.
Sounds great. Yeah, I'll have to give that a watch. I've not seen it myself, but it sounds very interesting.
Well, there we go. That's what we've been watching this week. So now it's time for Movie of the Week. This week we're talking about Flash Gordon. It's the 40th anniversary, so recently they came out with a 4K remaster at the end of August. They've obviously scanned in the film, remastered it, released special 4K Blu-ray releases and Ultra HD and all that kind of stuff. So we've had a chance to make a purchase and have a look at it. So we had a watch of it recently. What did you think, Greg?
Oh yeah, I love it. Really great film, as you can tell. Flash Gordon fan. Absolutely great fun movie. One from my childhood, obviously, with that kind of era of Star Wars and Buck Rogers and all those other kind of space operas making a comeback in the late 70s, early 80s. Flash Gordon was always a favourite. So really enjoyed it as a kid, but looking at it as a fully grown adult, I still enjoy it as a kid. It's what's not to like in there. You've got a great cast because you obviously got Sam J. Jones played Flash, who was a bit of a relative unknown at the time. But you've got all these other great stars in the supporting cast that, most notably probably Max von Sydow's Ming the Merciless. You got Timothy Dalton in there as Prince Baron, who would become James Bond later on. You've got the amazing Brian Blessed with his famous line, "Gordon's alive," as Voltan the Hawkman. But yeah, it's such a great fun movie. Didn't do very well at the time. Did okay over here in the UK, but internationally didn't do a great box office. But kind of clawed its way back afterwards as a kind of a cult hit. The costume designer on it, Danilo Donati, he did all those lavish colors. It was kind of inspired by the comic book and everything. So it's kind of hailed as a great camp classic now, because it's just over the top in so many ways and very tongue-in-cheek in a lot of senses. Whereas Star Wars takes itself very seriously, Flash Gordon seems to be a little bit more of a parody of itself in some ways. One thing I noticed watching it back, because it is a great picture on the 4K Redux, it looks gorgeous, but one thing I noticed was all those the comic montage at the start, where you've got all those different shots of the actual comic book Flash Gordon. Reminded me of basically that's what the MCU have lifted for their, they have their ident at the start of the Marvel films.
Oh yes, yeah.
We even do a similar kind of thing at the start of our show here, but that I think is inspired by the original Flash Gordon film, where they used Alex Raymond's original comic book art to really let the audience know this is what you're in for. This is a comic book film. Yeah, I love it. I mean, what about you? Do you have a history with this film? Because obviously you're a bit younger than me, and I don't know whether you saw it when you were a kid or what.
Yeah, obviously a bit younger, so I didn't. It wasn't a film growing up in that kind of sense that I was massively into. I had seen it as a kid, and obviously I've seen it since. It's a great film. It's a kind of, as you say, it's a camp classic. It's one of them cult films that it's fun because it doesn't take itself too seriously, I think, and that's what's really great about it. But I think watching it this time was much more of a treat than I've ever had before, because I think in previous versions it's not looked so great.
No.
And I think they've done a remarkable job here. They've scanned the original 35mm negative, they turned it into 4K files. They've done over 500 fixes to manually clean up different things and digitally removed strings and wire work and stuff. So they've done a real job on it. But what's really great is obviously now with the technology we've got and all the ways we can watch it, the great thing about the cinematography of Flash Gordon, I think, is the saturated colours. As you say, it's obviously based on the comics, and so you've got these really bright colours. And I think in previous versions, just for technology reasons, it didn't look so great. It was kind of washed out or looked overdone. And this time they've really got the colours down. It looks really nice. It's not too saturated. So it was a real joy to watch for the first time. Great costumes, as you say, that were in the film and stuff, just look so much better for all the colours and stuff. So I think it's far more interesting a film to watch at this point. This is how it was intended to be, I think. Yeah. And of course, Queen's fantastic soundtrack in there that's been remastered to the T, you know, it just sounded superb as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, that's to me is the cherry on the cake. People talk about John Williams' score for Star Wars being half the movie and stuff. I also think Queen deserve a lot of respect for their work on this. I think it was mainly Brian May. I've seen an interview with him on YouTube talking about, you know, he had quite a vested interest in doing it, and he used to enjoy Flash Gordon, the Buster Crabbe serials as a kid and stuff, so he was really into it and excited by it, and it was a good challenge for him at the time to kind of, you know, because they do a lot of the incidental music and stuff as well. But yeah, it's just classic stuff, isn't it? I mean, it's like you say, it's a film doesn't take itself too seriously. It does tread that line between sort of, you know, farce and also action adventure.
Yeah,
but I mean that was a sort of a hot potato in terms of the production, because Dino De Laurentiis, who was the famous Hollywood producer, the Italian guy there, he wanted it to be a bit more fun and a bit more comedy in it, and other people were saying no, we shouldn't do that. It should be a bit more, you know, straight down the line. So what resulted was something that's it's not one thing or the other 100%. But with that kind of source material, I think, you know, you can't take it too seriously. It's all ridiculous.
No.
You know, there's they crashed that plane at the start into Han Sarkoff's lab. Next thing, he's pulling a gun on them, isn't he? He's like, get inside the space rocket. And you're thinking, wow, what's going on there? This guy's a psycho. The next thing, they're best friends with him, and you know, they're all on the mission together to save Earth. But yeah, really, really great picture. Really nice to see in 4K. Yeah, enjoyed it. Okay, it's that time of the show where we go over to our favorite olive oil salesman from New York City, Don Vito Corleone, who's got another spin on whatever film he's been watching this week. So, without further ado, take it away, Don Corleone.
Hello, this is Don Corleone, and I'm here with another film review for the Cinema Plus podcast. This week's movie is called One-Eyed Jacks. It's a Western, my favorite type of movie. This is about a bunch of dirty cops who rob banks. Here they are. Particularly this guy. Handsome fella, isn't he? He likes to eat jewelry and wave his gun in old ladies' faces, because then they will fear you. So everything's going well for the family. We're all smiling and having a good time. Life's pretty good. Then one day, some meatball starts trouble down at the local saloon. So what do you do with a meatball? Bash, bash, bosh, bang. Guy goes down like a sack of spaghetti. Doesn't learn his lesson though. Tries to pull a fast one. Look at this. Bang. This guy is toast. I taught my son Santino to fight like that. So anyway, this is a movie about shots. Look at this beautiful shot of the sea, a beautiful shot of the desert, and a beautiful shot from a 45. These guys all playing cards together late at night. Somebody says the wrong thing. Get up, you scum-sucking pig. Throws that table away like it was a toothpick. This guy here is incredibly intimidated. Wouldn't you be? So he says goodbye to his friend, and this bastard, he shoots him dead on the beach, whacks him. Terribly sad. Of course, they pin the blame on our hero. He has to go to jail, taken in by the rest of the dirty cops like this redneck here, who kick his ass down the stairs where he belongs. So he's in the slammer, wondering what he did wrong. He asks the old sheriff to have leniency and bust him out, but they leave him in there to rot. Look at this guy. Would tear his face off if he had the chance, right? So, I just wanted to point out this shot, which is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Just look at those waves. Absolutely incredible. So he ends up kicks this guy's ass, has a gunfight with the sheriff in the town square. Watch out, sheriff, is behind you. That's the Chicago way. Well, that looks like the end of the movie for this week. Join us again next week. I give this one 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Corleones. Maximum score. Hope you enjoyed my review.
Thanks, Don. Well, that was an interesting take on it there.
Yeah, quite something familiar about that guy in that film as well. But yeah, very good.
And now it's time for movie news, where we talk about what's happening in the world of cinema this week. This week we've actually had a bit of a question from one of our listeners, Alex Nagad, who's asked us just to answer a question for him and talk about something that's come up this week. He was asking about the temporary closing of Odeon, reducing to weekends, and Cineworld temporarily closing, and what we think the short and medium-term future for cinemas is, really.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I mean, to be honest, with the digital age being what it is, cinema theatres have been in trouble for quite a long time now because of the changes in the way that we consume films and other media. IMAX has helped because that's kind of a big pull in some ways. They still got versions of 3D. I don't know whether that works or not. And I always see those as attempts to get, footfall, get people into the cinemas as new gimmicks, stuff that you can't offer when you're watching stuff on a screen at home. This is the appeal for some people to go to the cinema. So, they've been struggling for a while. Something like this that's happened with the pandemic, I'm not surprised that, look how many times we've gone this year. We've gone once. We usually go at least once a month, usually, to see the big films. Anyway, we love it. We love going. We haven't been able to go this year. We've gone once to see Tenet. And even that was, I felt, was a bit of a risky affair. I'm not sure I'd rush back, knowing now what we know about the pandemic being on the rise again. And some of these films are choosing to have their premieres online, and they get released either via, whatever, Netflix or whoever has got the rights for it. And people are just watching them at home. And if people got too used to doing something like that, then oh God, yeah. I mean, these cinemas would be closing down, which would be a great shame. I mean, the way I see it, as soon as this thing's over, this pandemic, no one's going to be spending any time at home because we've been so isolated in our own homes. Once it's safe again, people are going to want to come out. They're going to want to go to the cinema. They're going to want to go to bars. They're going to want to socialize and mix and mingle and be outside. So it's just a question of getting through it as far as I'm concerned. But what do you think? Yeah,
I think that's the kind of thing in terms of, obviously feel very sorry for the people who are going to be laid off most of all. That's obviously the biggest area, and obviously we need the government and stuff to step in and help these people out, obviously, who are going to be unemployed now because of the closures. But I can understand why the businesses are doing it. Obviously, they've got to think about the long-term stability and future of the companies, the cinemas, and we do want them to stay around because I think cinemas are very important. I wouldn't like to see a kind of, everything's just digital now, because I think certain films are very important to see on the big screen. They're designed for the cinema, and it's a social experience as well. It's not just the film, it's the whole part of going and all the different elements. And but I think obviously the news always makes things out worse than it is, by the seams of things in a lot of cases. The boss of View came out this week and said they'll be fine. Obviously, they're making cost-cutting reductions and stuff, but they just need more movies and they can open again, and obviously a lot of the movies have been put back. So I think they've got enough money and capital and stuff to keep going. It's more worrying if you look across the pond, I think, to America. We saw that AMC, the biggest chain across there, is allegedly mere months away from liquidation, which is a bit more worrying, that such a huge chain goes, but probably
I think
someone
that,
to buy it out in the end.
I have less room in my heart to feel sorry for the big companies than I do for the small independent places. I mean, I live here in a rural area, and there is a local cinema that's about nine miles away, and it's completely independent. It's part of an arts centre. So they put on different things there as well, theatre productions and musicals, and they have talks there, and they've got the cinema there as well. But I really feel for them, because they're the kind of places that, any prolonged period of having no footfall whatsoever, they really are going to suffer, and they're going to be on the brink of closing down. And if we lose these independent places, we lose so much more than just a movie theatre.
Well, the good news to come out of it, though, The Guardian put out an article last week, which actually was great news for independent cinemas. It seems that actually the numbers are going up at independent cinemas because the big multiplexes are closing. They're showing more old films or art house films, independents, and obviously people are then going to go watch that because there is no alternative.
That is great news.
Which is great news, really.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to hear that. Well, there's the thing, and I think people should make an effort to support their local independent places, because you might not go and see the latest IMAX release there or something, because they're not kitted out for it, but you will see some really interesting stuff. Absolutely.
And of course, if you don't want to leave the house, there's over 100 years of cinema you can watch, on Netflix or Amazon or something. So there's plenty to watch.
Well, that's what we've been
doing.
We've been catching up on a hell of a lot of films over, that we'd missed for one reason or another over the years. And
so there we go. Out of the darkness comes the light. There's plenty of opportunity, and I think in the end it'll all turn out all right.
Let's hope so. May the force be with us.
Let's get ready to film fight!
Okay, it's the film fight. Put your dukes up. Get ready for it. Well, Dave and I are going to go head to head over a film that one of us hates and one of us loves. This week, we're talking about the Superman films, and that could be any of the Superman films that have been made over the years. Obviously, I'm a fan. I always like Superman. Dave, unfortunately, is not. So, Dave, I'm going to give you 1 minute exactly to tell me why you hate the Superman films.
So, Superman, I just don't get it. To me, it just seems so daft and silly. I'm not a comic book fan, and I can't say I have intricate knowledge of Superman to clarify everything. But to me, he's just a protagonist with no fallibility, and that's just boring. He's, a demigod, an invincible being who can do anything. And so in that situation, for me, the only interesting story is his origin, telling him how he came to be. Once you kind of get past that, there's nothing interesting to tell about Superman. He's just, he can do anything with no danger, and, he's not in peril at any time because he's this invincible being, this superhero. And in a way, I was reading an interesting quote that he's not really a superhero. How can he be a hero? And it was interesting because, heroes are brave, selfless people that make sacrifices. He doesn't really make a sacrifice because he's never in danger. He's never in peril.
And your minute is up. That's it. Ding, ding. Round is over. Now we're going to switch around, and I get 1 minute to rebuttal your remarks and defend Superman. So here we go. Right. So to take up your point about him being infallible, he is not infallible. There is such a thing called kryptonite, that if you manipulate it in one way or another and stick it in his grill, this guy, he's you know what I mean? He's like, I don't know if you've seen the first film, but they have this like necklace of kryptonite that they put around his neck, and he's like, oh, and he falls in the swimming pool, and this woman has to dive in, and Miss Tessmacher, and she gets it off him, and then okay, yes, he has kind of got all the superpowers that you could possibly wish for. He's got the laser eyes, he can fly, he's got ultimate strength, he's impenetrable for any kind of bullets or tank shells or anything like that. Nothing can get him. He's also, like, morally the most perfect person you could wish for. But Superman's like the ultimate superhero. How could you not love him? And there you go, that's my minute. Ding ding. So now this is where we get into the fight. This is where, you know, it's open season now. We can just duke it out. I mean, many times over the years, this has come up. This is why it's the subject of our first film fight. When I've mentioned Superman, I particularly like the Christopher Reeve Superman films, especially the first three. And you've always turned your nose up. I don't like Superman, and I was like, Dave, what's going on? So, you know, what is going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of comic books. Generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of superheroes. I find them so kind of generic and too goody two shoes for me. I like Batman. I think he's probably one of the only interesting comic book characters. I think because of that humanity and fallibility in him, that you know, he's just like one of us kind of thing. When your main character's too powerful and perfect in a way, I just find it quite boring, and it just doesn't ring a bell with me. And his costume, I mean, it's the
coolest costume you've ever seen in your life. The red.
Come on, who wears pants over?
Oh, this is the thing. They've got rid of it with the Henry Cavill incarnation. No red pants over the top. It's like, get out of here. Where's the red Speedos? You need the red Speedos. That's the power position when he puts his hands on his hips, and it's like, check out my red Speedos. Now I'm going to knock you into oblivion. I mean, Christopher Reeve played him so well, and it's not just when an actor plays a character like this. It's the same with Batman. They're not just playing the superhero; they're playing their alter ego. And Christopher Reeve did such a good job at playing Clark Kent at the beck and call of Lois Lane. He's constantly trying to impress her. But he's really a bit of a nerd, and he's wearing his glasses. But the beauty of that is that we know, really, underneath all that, he is this perfect, not human being, but he's this perfect being that can do all these amazing things. But he's hiding that all inside this very human character. I just can't understand. If you hated all other superhero films, but you said, but I do love the Superman films, I'd be like, well, yeah, I'll give you that, but there's not even an inch there. What about the modern ones? Really. Do you like the Henry Cavill incarnation? Or
I think they're even worse, to be honest.
They are worse. I agree with you on that.
I mean, superheroes in general, I've never really, never bought into them really. I find them so kind of distant.
Well, one thing you might be interested in is The Boys, which is currently on Amazon Prime as a series, and basically what that does, it's kind of like The Watchmen in a way. It turns that whole idea of being a superhero on its head, and there's just to cut all the rest out, you can check it out if you want, but there's a central character called Homelander, and he basically is Superman. He can fly, he's got the laser eyes, he's got the ultimate strength, he's impervious to any bullets or anything, but he is also a psychopathic and, you know, does incredibly evil things in secret. And his personality was as flawed as the rest of our personalities are, and he was like an egomaniac and an absolute psychopathic, you know. This is what it would be like. So in that sense, it might appeal to your, you know, disposition in that sense, that he's not perfect and he's actually a real piece of work.
Might have to give it a try.
Yeah, just
That might be
watch
more
the
my cup of tea.
trailer and see what you think. But it's definitely the antithesis of what Superman stands for in terms of like truth, justice, the American way, and all that. This guy's pretending to stand for all that, but he's actually a son of a... Anyway, that's the end of our film fight this week. We'll let our viewers decide whether, Superman
Who's right.
Superman's a good thing or not. Obviously, leave us some comments. Let us know your thoughts. And that's it. We'll duke it out again next week on another topic.
Okay, it's time again for the movie quiz. This week we're doing something a little bit different. I've picked out some still images from some films over the years. We've got 10 of them, and we're going to bring them up one at a time, and Greg's going to have a guess and see if he can work out which film it is. Feel free to play along at home. Let us know your scores in the comments below afterwards, but no cheating, okay? So Greg, are you ready?
I am ready, sir.
Right, let's cue them up. Number 1.
Oh, Christopher Eccleston. He's got some combat fatigues on there. Is this... It's not Shallow Grave, is it?
No.
Is it 28 Days Later?
Correct. It's 28 Days Later.
That was hard, man. That was really hard to rack my brains on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Oh, God. Come on. That could be from anything. Just a mouth. Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, well, right director.
Oh, really? Hang on then. Let me have a second guess. Oh, is that Dave out of 2001 Space Odyssey?
It is. It's 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Oof. Yeah, I only got it because of your clue.
Okay, question 3.
There's Nicole. That's Batman Forever.
Correct. Number 4.
Number 4, one of my favourite films ever. The fantastically crazy David Lynch with Blue Velvet.
Correct.
Love that film.
Okay. Number 5.
Is this that J.J. Abrams thing because of the lens flare? Super 8.
Correct.
I haven't actually seen that film, but I know what it's about. And that lens flare gives it away as a J.J. Abrams thing.
I kind of left a clip with a lens flare in just as a clue.
Perfect.
Really.
It's the only thing that give it away for me. But yeah.
Okay.
Very
Number
good.
6.
Oh, hello. That's our good friend, Michael Sheen. It's not the one where he plays Cluffy, is it?
It is.
It is. Oh, what was it called? It wasn't called Clough, was it?
No, no.
I don't remember the title, but I remember the film.
It's The Damned United.
Oh, The Damned United. Great film. Great performance by Sheen. Really love Brian Clough as well as a sort of historical sports figure. Very entertaining.
Okay, number 7.
Oh, The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Classic. Okay, number 8.
What the... I feel like I know that. That's really hard, Dave. Really difficult one, this. Somebody buried in the mud like that. I don't know. I'm going to have to pass on that one.
Okay, that's The Thin Red Line.
That's a difficult one. Well done. You got me there.
Number 9.
Number 9 is True Romance, of course. Christian Slater there.
And number 10.
War of the Worlds with our favourite actor of all time, Tom Cruise.
How are we doing, Tom?
Good old Tom. Yeah.
Well, at least we didn't get taken out after last week's rant, so we're still here.
Well,
so.
we've both joined Scientology ever since. We're both now official Scientology, I don't know what you'd call us, disciples, I suppose. And we've made our
Gurus.
peace with Mr. Cruise and with the church, and we're all for it.
There we go. Not too bad then.
No, not bad. I think I got a couple wrong or just didn't know, but that was a good quiz, man. That was really hard.
Yeah.
That one with just the mouth is like, come on, what the hell? Could have been anything.
There we go. Well, not too bad. Let us know your scores in the comments below, and we'll have another quiz again next week.
Okay, we got another new section for the show this week. This is top fives. So each week we're going to go through our top 5 of certain films of different genres. This week's topic is westerns. So, rolling in at number 5, Young Guns 2.
Ooh, very good choice.
Emilio Estevez and the rest of the Brat Pack. I always enjoyed that one.
I've got at number 5, The Searchers, 1956.
Got to be in there somewhere, hasn't it?
I think that's the kind of peak level of John Wayne and John Ford. Just absolutely influential film.
Okay, so at number 4, I've got the classic Shane.
Oh, very
I don't know
good.
if you've seen that or not yet.
Yes.
But that's, for me, is one of the best westerns ever made. It's almost an archetypal western in terms of, you know, that particular kind of story of the stranger coming to town and taking care of the bad guys because the good townsfolk are just not able to compete with the malevolence of such nasty characters. It takes a hero to come in and clean them up. I mean, Shane is the ultimate example of that, I think. So I've got that in there. What did you have at number 4?
Really good choice. Yeah, I've gone for Unforgiven from 1992.
That's such a great film.
Great piece. You know, later Clint Eastwood, you know, much darker, kind of harsher take on the Western, I think. And it's when that kind of the more modern Western started to come out a bit and change the game, really.
Number 3, I got The Searchers. We've already covered that. So
there we go.
There we go. That's done in there.
Well, for number 3, I've gone for Once Upon a Time in the West.
Nice.
Which,
Leone.
for me, is Leone's best. Well, it's certainly best in that period. Obviously, I love Once Upon a Time in America as well. Kind of the third in that kind of trilogy, as they call it. But the best score from Morricone in that, you know. And just, I find it a really interesting film because it turns the conventions of American Westerns really on its head.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very dark film and a great turn from Henry Fonda as a villain.
Talking about playing against type, that is the ultimate example.
Exactly. Perfect film.
Those icy blue eyes and just a completely vicious and disgusting character in Frank. You've also got the great Charles Bronson as harmonica.
Oh, yes.
It's
stunning.
It's good fun. Jason Robards in there as well, who later did Fistful of Dynamite. Yeah, great film. Number 2, my choice was Once Upon a Time in the West. So there we go. That was my number 2 slot. What was in yours?
For me, I've gone for Tombstone from 1993.
Oh, yes. Now, there is a movie.
Excellent movie. Ensemble cast, you know, Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer. Really stylish
Powers Booth,
Western, I think.
Michael Biehn as the bad guys. Really great film. Back in the day, when it was released, Kevin Costner also did his own version of the Wyatt Earp story, which was just called Wyatt Earp, and that was like an epic, expansive, 3-hour Western that kind of did his whole life from when he was a young lad to right up towards the end before he died, because he lived quite a long time. He lived into the 20th century, Wyatt Earp. I believe John Wayne actually met him once, or so legend has it. John Wayne met Wyatt Earp at some point. I don't know how true that was, but I used to prefer the Costner version. And Dennis Quaid did this amazing performance as him, and I used to love that film. But years later, I watched them both together, and I came out on the side of Tombstone in the end because it's just such a great film. It's so much fun, and they both essentially a similar film, the main thing being the gunfight at the OK Corral and everything. But Tombstone is mighty fine film. Fantastic. Okay, and for our number 1 Westerns, I have got what I consider to be Sergio Leone's greatest film, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly.
Fantastic
which is,
choice.
Of course, everybody's probably most recognizable Western. You've got the theme tune there, that famous call, and Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, and really it's Eli Wallach's best role as Tico. Is so cool in it. I mean, he's great in The Magnificent Seven, and he's great in The Godfather 3, and he's great in everything he ever does, Eli Wallach. He's just one of those underrated, fantastic actors. But as Tico in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly,
It's certainly one of the films that set the stall, really, and yeah, it's landmark piece, really.
What did you have at number one?
Well, I've gone for the film that started it all. You know, a lot of people reference it. I've gone for Stagecoach.
Oh yeah, another John
from
Wayne.
1939.
Yeah.
John Wayne, John Ford. It's kind of their first coming together. Now, for me, this is the film that set the standard for westerns going forward. It's a superbly directed film. I mean, what they managed to pull off, this is 1939, and you look at the horse chase sequences and the stunts and stuff like that, and you think, wow, how they managed to do this.
It is a classic. John Wayne in the white hat. I mean, this is the thing, when we were in film school, we did that sort of compare and contrast exercise using Stagecoach as the man in the white hat and then the Searchers as the man in the black hat. And it's a really interesting thing to kind of study and to look at as two different characters of the same sort of genre. So
10 really great westerns there.
Well, actually, it probably wasn't
probably
10 because we had, a couple of them were doubled up. But yeah. Let us know what were the ones we missed out, your favourite westerns. Tell us what we got wrong. Not a problem. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what your favourite westerns are, what your top 5 are. Put them in the comments below, or come and say hello on Twitter and tell us there. And
if you haven't seen any of them, we recommend you just go and watch them. They're really, really great films.
Absolutely.
To tuck into. And now we come to shorts and shout-outs, the part of the show where we discuss independent cinema and short films and give a shout-out to other people in the film community. This week we just wanted to talk about a film called Funeral for Lightning. It's by Emily Kai Bock. It's an interesting film. It's this idea of living off-grid, which is one of the things that's kind of been appealing to many people lately. You know, this follows a young couple who kind of opt in for that, basic lifestyle and want to live in that idyllic situation. And it follows this character, Mandy. It's told from her perspective. And it's kind of a leisurely paced film, but it's really interesting as it kind of develops to show Mandy's despair of the situation and how she feels trapped by her husband, who doesn't really seem as committed to the idea as he first gives out. It's shot beautifully. It's done on 70mm. They use a lot of natural light, which I think pays off because it kind of gives this grounded reality and grittiness to it. But it shows off this despair of, well, it's not always greener on the other side. So really great film. It's up on Vimeo. It's been at international film festivals and stuff. And we recommend, just go check it out. We'll put a link in the description below for you to have a look at.
That's cool. I haven't seen that myself, so I'll be checking it out. Sounds really good. When you're talking about off-grid sort of living, it reminded me of that film Leave No Trace, which I did a review for on our website, moremovies.co.uk, if you wanted to go and check that review out there. But that's similar topic, the benefits, but also the pitfalls of attempting to live that kind of lifestyle. So yeah, we'd like to give a shout out to our usual crowd on Twitter. We've got Skip Bolden, Liam Jackson, Tico Romeo, Daniel Marley, Rosemary, all of our friends there on Film Twitter. Give a shout out as well to Alex Nagad and Glenn Gare, our friends there. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for your feedback. And come and join us on Twitter at moremovies4. We like to talk about movies there 24/7 as we advertise it. So come and say hello, and let's all enjoy movies together. Okay, now it's medication time, gentlemen. It's medication time. It's red pill, blue pill. And this is where I give Dave a nice list of options to choose from. And this week's topic is one of your favourite cinema topics, is Christopher Nolan. So, Are we ready with red pill, blue pill, Dave?
Let's go for it.
Here we go. Okay, Inception or Tenet?
Inception.
Cobb or The Protagonist?
The Protagonist.
Michael Caine or Kenneth Branagh?
Michael Caine.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody dose up. Tom Berenger or Eric Roberts?
Eric Roberts.
The Prestige or Memento?
I'm actually going to go for The Prestige.
Dunkirk or Interstellar?
Interstellar.
Katie Holmes or Maggie Gyllenhaal?
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Insomnia or Batman Begins?
Insomnia.
The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises?
The Dark Knight, of course.
Of course. Matthew McConaughey or Leonardo DiCaprio?
I'll go with Leonardo.
Robert Pattinson or Tom Hardy?
Robert Pattinson.
Al Pacino or Robin Williams?
Robin Williams.
Marion Cotillard or Anne Hathaway?
I'll go with Anna Hathaway.
Christian Bale or Hugh Jackman?
Christian Bale.
Is a tough one for you to end up. We've got Christopher Nolan or Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, that's making me squirm, that one. I have to go for the master and go for Hitchcock.
Christopher Nolan or Martin Scorsese.
Oh, I'll go for Nolan.
And to finish us up, Christopher Nolan or Stanley Kubrick.
Nolan.
Get out of here, Nolan. There we go. That's your pills. Take your pills and get the hell out of here, Pilgrim.
Wow, that was hard. Oh, those last few. Oh,
well, we can't make it too easy for you, can we?
Exactly. It's going to be difficult.
Join us again next week for more red pills and blue pills.
Well, that's all we got time for. Thanks for joining us again here on The Movie Show. I've been David Roberts, and that's been Greg Fisher. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at MoreMovies4. Come say hello to us at moremovies.co.uk to see our film reviews and articles. And remember to subscribe and press the bell icon for notifications right here on YouTube. And join us again next week for more on the Cinema Plus podcast.